The most dangerous business podcast in the world. Entrepreneurs and ambitious people, if you want to build a powerful, profitable, impactful business, if you want to study and fall in love with the process, if you want to acquire the skills, habits, and determination you need to level up in business and in life, that's fantastic because I'm working on the same thing. This is the Game of Grow movement. Welcome back. You are now listening to the Game of Grow podcast, and I'm your host, Muoyo. It's episode 11 of the most dangerous business podcast in the world. It doesn't matter where you start or where you are right now. It's about where you want to go, who you want to become, and what price you're willing to pay to get there. So thanks, guys, for all of you guys who've been killing it with subscribes and reviews. We actually we held down the number one spot in New and Noteworthy for education. That was pretty cool. And just 6 more reviews to 100. So definitely appreciate any and all feedback, especially your reviews in the podcast store, like this week's review from S.Fi, who says, "What did I learn from my immigrant parents?" 5-star review. So this was a response to episode 2, what I learned from my immigrant parents. Just like every type of parent, there are advantages and disadvantages. Advantage: I learned to work hard. My father worked 6 days a week and always put my family at the center of everything he did. Disadvantage: because we were not from the US, they tried so much to become American that they didn't push us to really embrace our culture, the Haitian culture. So thank you, S.Fi. I really appreciate that. And guys, yeah, I would love that. If you want to answer the question of the day, then doing that as a review in the podcast store, that would be incredible. So moving on, welcome back. You could be anywhere in the world right now, but you're here with me, and I'll never take that for granted. So I promise to give you everything I got. On today's episode, I want to talk to you guys about how to build a successful app business in 2019 without being a developer, because, I don't write the code in my business. So if you have aspirations of building a successful and profitable app business, maybe even one that pays for your freedom, you're going to want to stick with me till the end of the episode. And even if you have no interest in apps at all, but you want to build a successful business, you're probably still going to want to stick with me. While my focus is on apps, there are a few powerful concepts that I'm sharing here that are definitely going to benefit you regardless. All right, cool? So I recently met up with an entrepreneur friend of mine just to chop it up and talk business and share some of the things we've been learning of late. We only met for less than an hour, but I think that we both learned a lot in that time. So here's actually the message that he sent me that led to our meetup. So he says, this was on IG in the DMs. It says, "Been meaning to message you. Should catch up soon. Your app class got me down an unforeseen path, which has been greatly beneficial. Launched a top app and some duds, made and lost money, learned a lot, and got some new experiences. Got a consulting gig in addition to my regular hustle from my app experiments." That was in all caps. "From my app experiments that helped me make some solid connections. Used my learning from that to launch and back another business that's been growing consistently. All started with your course. Check out," and then the name of the business. I'm not going to disclose that because I don't think that's public yet. So he's just pretty crazy to me. And I started thinking about that, how he took the course not knowing where it was going to go, and it just led into this totally different direction. Now he's meeting all these amazing business people. And I started reflecting on how many times I'd heard a similar story to that. So it's kind of similar to what Shirley, who's in App Moguls, told me. So she just recently got a new job at Accenture in their innovation group. And she was able to talk about her app work and her app experience in the interview. And that was a major differentiator. And then there's Asosa. So Asosa came to me years ago with no prior tech experience, but she was able to publish 2 apps after she took the course. She says, "I was off to the races. I learned so much. I had the confidence to leave my job and build Cosign, which is an app-based e-commerce company that I now work on full time." And now she's also going on to co-found Black Women Talk Tech, which has chapters in 3 cities and partners on a conference with companies like Nike, Facebook, Samsung, Microsoft, SAP, and lots of others. Then there's my guy, Fritz. Fritz, similar to me, he built a multi-million download app portfolio. He was eventually able to sell that and he's parlayed that experience into a career in mobile. He's worked for the NBA on their League Pass app, worked with IAC, now transitioned into blockchain. That's with Token Tax, as well as with his own company, Coin Gamma. So more recently, I've been hearing from a lot of people, hearing from a lot of you guys about your interest in apps, in app moguls. How can I build an app? How can I work with you, Muoyo, to build my app? So apologies, guys, if I still owe anyone a response. You'll definitely be hearing from me very shortly. So after all of that, I thought to myself, why don't we do an episode on apps? So I'm going to do my very best in this episode to try to give you a full course on apps right here in this episode to the best that we can. So we're going to talk about how I'm helping people nowadays, because you guys are asking me. We're going to talk about how I built and sold my business in the past. We're going to talk about how I'm building my business currently in the present. And then we'll conclude with the story of my newest app. So hopefully that sounds cool. So how I'm helping people nowadays. So I've actually moved away from building apps for people. And this is not something I started out doing anyway, but I experimented with that. I don't like it as much because I can only serve a limited number of people at a time. And frankly, my time is very expensive. So I'm most likely not going to do that. How I am serving people, I'd say the best value way is through my course. So you may have heard in the past about my course, App Moguls. I've talked about James, and James has been able to reach number 73 grossing in the business category in the App Store, and that's out of over 200,000 apps in the business category. Alex has been able to reach number 143 grossing in the entertainment category, well over 100,000 apps in that category. So, grossing means that's ranking how much money they're making. So they're doing pretty well if they're in the top 200 grossing in their category. So these guys didn't start with app industry experience. So I definitely think that based on the results, this is the best value service I offer. I pulled back earlier this year from promoting this because I really wanted to focus on my own app business and reestablishing my presence in the app market. I never want to be one of those people who is teaching something and not actually doing it. So I wanted to get back to my own business. I'll eventually start promoting this thing again. Still have some more work to do on my business, but if you have interest in starting sooner than that, then just hit me up at appmagic.co/get started. You can give me a bit of information on what you want to accomplish, and if it's a good fit, then we can get started on working together. Then there is consulting, and consulting is really for people who want to be a little bit more hands-on than the course. I mean, I think the course is amazing. Some people want some more help, so consulting might be for you. Just hit me up. You can use the form as well at magic.co/get started, or you can email me at muoyo@magic.co. And then finally, there is the book at magic.co/book. And the book really covers just about the same material as the course, but it's going to be a more affordable entry point. So maybe that will be a great option for some of you out there. All right, cool. So let's move into the next segment, which is how I built and sold my app business in the past. So as you probably know, if you've been listening for a while, I was able to build up my app business to over 12 million downloads and hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue and profit. Eventually was able to sell for multiple six figures. It wasn't the $1 million sale that we'd been hoping for, but did pretty well with that. And I did a few things well in this business that allowed for that success. So what I did well, one major thing was to just serve demand, to be very data driven. I used market research to find these pockets of demand. So some of the tools I used, there's appannie.com, highly recommend it. They have a free tool. You can go and see where apps are ranking in the top charts and the top paid, top free, top grossing, all that sort of thing. I also just used the regular App Store data. That was pretty helpful as well. So used market research to find demand, choose a business model and monetization strategies. So that could be advertising, that could be in-app purchases. Now there are subscriptions and so on and so forth. Market efficiently. So at the time, I just used App Store optimization. So that is really optimizing your app to be found when people search in the App Store. And that was the major way that I did marketing. Did a few other things, but that was the main thing. I used overseas developers to help execute these projects efficiently. So you can find developers on platforms like Upwork.com, Freelancer.com. Some people swear by Craigslist. I haven't used that one, but Upwork and Freelancer, I've definitely used those in the past. And then deliver solutions that the market wants. So, you're looking at what does the market want, what's the demand, and then you're giving the market what it wants. So the end result was the business I told you about, but if I'm being real about it, what I was actually able to accomplish was I didn't really build a real business. I built revenue streams, and I built good revenue streams, and these were lucrative for me and lucrative for other people, which is why they're willing to buy them. But it wasn't a real business. So let me kind of explain around that and talk about what needs to change. And I feel that you can't really build a viable business just by finding pockets of demand and chasing after every different opportunity you see. You're really just building revenue streams, and there's a difference. And another thing that has to change is I really want to be able to build something that I'm proud of, that delivers value to somebody and something that people love. So let's talk about how I'm doing this in the present. And a whole lot of this process has actually remained intact. It's a solid process. I do talk about it in my course. I talk about it in the 7 Steps to App Success book that I mentioned before. So the process is solid, but marketing has evolved. Marketing has to change. It's no longer enough to just use search optimization at all. Monetization has also evolved. So we now have subscriptions. We'll talk about that a little bit. We're not moving away from the data-driven component. It's still very important to be grounded in data and know that there is demand for what you want to do. But really, the biggest change that I've made is around what I want to call falling in love with the customer. So Tony Robbins once gave the advice that you don't want to fall in love with your product. And I've always believed that. A lot of times people will have an idea or have a product that they have in mind and just be so in love with it that they can't see anything else that's going on. So I've never believed in falling in love with your product, but he also said, don't fall in love with your product, fall in love with your ideal client. And that's something that I haven't really focused on before, but it's really a game changer. So rather than just seeing there's demand for this particular kind of app, I'm looking at where the demand is, but I'm also thinking about who is the customer that I want to serve. And then I really want to fall in love with that customer or fall in love with that client. And then I can focus on how do I give that client an amazing experience and also get the business model right so that the business model will be sustainable, but really just giving them an amazing experience. And then because you're focused on the client rather than focused on a single product or a single app, there are going to be so many different problems that you can help that client to solve over the lifetime of your relationship. And if you're doing a good job, that's going to be a long relationship. I'm hoping for a lifetime, a true lifetime relationship. And you're just looking at these problems and you're able to fill the void. And that's how you're going to build your successful business. And rather than just chase after different disparate products all over the place, chase all the different rabbits, chase all the different opportunities, your products can now be complementary products. You're building a suite of complementary products rather than disparate products like I was doing before. So finally, that brings me to the point of the story where I want to talk about the new app that we're building. So I want to introduce you to Color Noir. So the way that Color Noir came about, first I was doing research, and Color Noir is a coloring book app, and it's the first coloring book app to focus on Black people and Black culture. So it came about because I was doing research in the App Store, as I often do, and I noticed a trend with coloring book apps for adults. And these coloring book apps, it surprised me because they were very popular and they were also quite lucrative. These apps, they leverage a subscription business model. We talked about that a little bit earlier. I just kind of mentioned it. And what that means, of course, is that it's really freemium, so you can use the app for free, but then there's premium content in the app. And if you want to unlock the premium content, just like Netflix, you're paying a monthly subscription fee. And what this enables them to do is to scale the apps profitably and invest back into creating more content and just create a better experience for their client base. So I thought this was really interesting. And I didn't really get the coloring book thing at first, but I checked them out. I used a few of them and I started to understand what it was that people liked about them, why they liked them. And, it seems like people really use these apps to relax. And it's also kind of fun just to color them in and do the art. So I started to kind of understand why they were popular. But I didn't really do anything with this information for a long time. I just kind of sat on it. I knew that it was interesting. I knew I eventually wanted to get into doing something with subscription so I could build something long-term and sustainable. But I didn't do anything with the information. And maybe it was Black Panther that inspired me watching that movie. I loved that movie. It was just amazing. Maybe it was my wife's podcast, Side Hustle Pro. I'm sure you've heard of it before if you listen to this podcast. Or maybe it was Alex and his team and Naturalist Emoji. So you may have heard me talk about that before. And, they've done an amazing job, built that to over 100,000 downloads. They're doing great revenue and profit. And they've really fallen in love with the customer. They built an emoji app for celebrating Black women. And so, maybe it was any one of those things. Most likely it was a combination of all of them and more things going on in the marketplace. But I started to notice that none of the coloring book apps that I was looking at prominently feature images of Black people, Black women, Black men. And so often we'll just see these things and we'll complain about them. I've seen people watching the Oscars for years and being upset that Black people are not winning the awards or being featured. And I decided that in this case, rather than complain about it, I wanted to do something about it. And this is exactly how Color Noir was born. So this is the very first coloring book app in the App Store to feature images of Black people, Black women, Black men, Black culture. And I'm really just super proud of what we're doing here. So after a number of months with our heads down, months of development, it's currently available in the App Store. So you can find it by searching for Color Noir, or you can go to appmagic.co/color. And we also have a behind the scenes group on Facebook, which is going to take you behind the scenes of everything we have going on. That's appmagic.co/blackcolor if you're interested. And shout out to everybody in that group, especially people who've been making the art. Shout out to Natalie, Amisha, Angela, Angelita, and everybody really just giving feedback and using the product and having fun. So if this app interests you, I hope you'll check it out in the App Store, Color Noir, and perhaps join us in the group. And even if it doesn't interest you, I still hope you got some great nuggets here from this episode that you can implement in your own business that are going to help you. No matter what, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to share the stories as I continue to fall in love with the customer and grow this app and grow this business. And if you're listening to the Game of Grow podcast, I consider you a customer as well. And I really, 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 really look forward to bringing you value in as many different ways as I possibly can over the long, long, long lifetime of this relationship. All right, cool. So that, of course, brings us to the question of the week, which is, what is the most interesting thing that you learned in this episode? And what questions do you have that remain about building an app business in 2019? So you can leave your answer to that question as a review in the podcast store, or you can head to gameofgrow.com/chat. And of course, that brings us, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the fee. It's time to pay the fee. And the fee is not about money. It's all about spreading the word as much as we can and as far as we can. So for each and every episode that you got value from, so we're on episode 11 now. So if you like 10 of them, I need you to bring me back 10 people, and I'm going to really appreciate you guys for that. All right, guys, and with that, I'll see you guys back here real soon on the Game of Grow podcast. Because remember, guys, it doesn't matter where you start or where you are right now. Are you willing to take the challenge and grow? DJ, drop that beat and take us out. Thank you for tuning in to the Game of Grow movement. If you'd like to hear more, head to gameofgrow.com to sign up for my weekly updates about my own journey as I create the powerful, profitable, and impactful business of my dreams. And I want to hear about your journey as well. And if you want to connect on social media, I'm at Game of Grow on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. On LinkedIn, just search for my name. Don't forget to join us in the Game of Grow community, which you can search for on Facebook. And if you love the show, the biggest way you can help is to subscribe, rate, and review, and then find a like-minded friend you can help to do the same. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.